Today I want to talk about how we meet each other, how we can truly meet each other without an idea of me in between. And this idea of me in between the meeting can be a separator and pushes us apart. So how can we drop the I and really meet without imposing our own views? We can do this. It gives us great freedom, spaciousness, kind of an infinite spaciousness. So this is what I wanted to talk about today. And I was just thinking of this obituary that I read yesterday about Dr. Justice Rosenberg, who was a young boy during World War II, and all the stuff that he did as a result of all the stuff that happened to him. How he lost touch with his parents, was taken away, escaped to France, separated from those he most loved for 15 years, not knowing if they were alive or dead. And then really, as a young 17-year-old boy, dedicating his life to helping others, working through the resistance to help others during a time when many people were dying. He said he doesn't know if he was brave or reckless. Maybe he was motivated by adventure, or maybe he was just motivated by necessity, trying to stay alive. Regardless of what his original motivation was, his experience made him a compassionate, kind human being, as we're told by those who knew him well. How can you go through all of that and come out really, really nice? How can you not go through all of that and come out really, really nice? So today my thoughts are also on another 17-year-old boy named Kyle Rittenhouse. Really young, perhaps motivated by fear, perhaps motivated by love and compassion, perhaps motivated by adventure. We don't know. I haven't asked him myself. Something motivated him to go to an area where there were protests, to protect businesses he felt were in danger. And something motivated him to take a gun with him when he went. And unfortunately, this gun that this 17-year-old boy carried, driving for quite a distance to go to a place that wasn't his home, somewhere else. Unfortunately, this gun, through his feelings, through his body, through his emotions, killed others. We can never go back from that, never. Whatever the motivation was. Again, we don't know. I haven't had the chance to sit down with Kyle and to hear his story. Not the story he's told to tell, but the story of his heart. What was going on for you, Kaya? Tell me about it. I really want to hear. Were you scared? Were you angry? Did you feel righteous, or did you feel powerful? What happened? We know, all of us know the end of that story. That people died. Sometimes we can get into a real polarity of thinking those who died completely good and those who killed were completely bad. The thing is, killing hurts on both sides. Of course, killing hurts. I don't even know if it hurts the person who died. Do they know? Are they aware of it? Certainly in that moment it must have hurt. Certainly it hurt their families. Oh my goodness, to be a mother and to find out your child, to be a father, to find out your child is dead through the violence of another human. I can't even imagine the pain. And to be a human who kills another human is completely irreparable. We never change that happens, and it changes us forever. In my work as a chaplain, I've met people who killed. Even people who said that killing was necessary and justified. That if they hadn't killed, they definitely would have died. And others who weren't sure. They were scared, they were afraid. They thought maybe they were unsafe and they better be careful, or others just felt really panicked and reacted badly. And these are the secrets they're not allowed to tell. I'm not sure. Nobody who kills is allowed to say, I don't know. I don't know if it was really necessary. So once we put the gun in our hands, we've made a choice. In the Buddha's teachings, it's taught that of the three poisons, greed, anger, and delusion, anger is the most dangerous. This is because we can do things when we're angry that can never be undone. We can say things to others in the moment of anger that can't be unsaid. And in the moment of anger, if we're holding a weapon and our finger is on a trigger, it just takes one instant to do an action that will hurt us for the rest of our lives. Just one instant. For these reasons, we have to learn how to own our anger, how to work with our anger, how to acknowledge our anger. We have to learn how to be in this world with others, listening, connecting, really dropping the me and hearing other stories. And we cannot afford to put a weapon into our hands that can kill another person. Once we pick up the weapon, once we hold it, the intention is already there, whether we want it to be or not. Once it's in our hands, once we've acknowledged and accepted our intention, perhaps to kill, we've already killed in here. Let's not put ourselves in that situation. And let's back out to the stories. Who am I and who are you? Tell me about yourself. Kyle, what was going on in that moment? Why did you decide to go there? Was it a long drive? Were you listening to music? Maybe the radio? Did you meet others when you arrived or kind of felt lost? Did you have dinner? Maybe did your mom make you dinner? And then when you saw the people there, how did you feel? Were you afraid? I'm wondering what it would take to create the situation in which Kyle could tell me his story. Definitely, I would have to be willing to hear it. And I am. Definitely, I can't have a preconceived idea of what happened. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the news just like you have. This is somebody else's interpretation. And it blocks us from really connecting with how a person's heart is in the moment. Because our stories change. Maybe his story was one story on the night that it happened. Maybe the moment he pulled the trigger, it became a different story. Maybe it became a different story when people started telling him what to say. What is the story in his heart? The only way we can find our way to that story is by dropping I and truly connecting from a place of heart to heart. This is called deep listening. Deep listening. Tell me your story. Listening with connection, with empathy, with a willingness to feel the things that it brings up in me. To feel them without making it my story. To listen without letting my own ideas and opinions, emotions come up and block the story from entering my heart. We can do this. We start with our Zazen practice. We start here on the cushion. We start by following our breath. What happens when we follow our breath, when we sit practicing Zazen? We notice the thoughts that come up constantly, right? We notice these thoughts and then we learn to let go of the thoughts, return to our breath over and over. And as we learn to do this, we start to understand that this constant and steady stream of thoughts that we have aren't necessary. We can let them go. We can simply be in each moment. And as we do that, also the I starts to drop. The feeling that I am right and you are wrong starts to drop. The need for me to be right and for you to be wrong starts to drop, because as we drop our own ideas and thoughts, we start to connect with the world around us, with the others in the room, with our neighbors, with the animals. And as we connect, empathy, compassion very naturally arises, very naturally comes up as we cultivate the space for it to come up, as we invite it. Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh teaches that compassionate dialogue is the essence of nonviolent action. Compassionate dialogue is the essence of nonviolent action. How do we get there? Oh my goodness. Sometimes it can feel so far away. Talking to somebody who killed can feel very far away. So how do we get there? How do we learn to do that? We start with our family and our friends. We start with those we care the most about. Or maybe it's easier to start with people we don't know very well. Regardless, we start. We start by teaching ourselves to listen. And we can learn how. We don't have to make it up. There are ways we can learn. This week at Beacon Zen Temple, we've been talking about nonviolent communication, as taught by Marshall Rosenberg, as a structure for how to have a compassionate conversation. All you have to do is plug into the formula, and it works. It's the doing it, learning how to do it, that's hard. Just figuring it out. We do know, though, that compassionate dialogue is the essence of nonviolent action. And as Samdhong Rinpoche I often quote him saying, when we meet others, as long as we have anger in our hearts, our nonviolence is not truly nonviolence. So for those of us who want to be nonviolent, I invite you to look at yourself first, to find the anger in your own heart, and to work on that. There's a way to do it. We take our inner practice, sitting zazen, practicing together. We have the practice of the community, the Sangha, where we talk with each other and we develop ways of being together, and then we apply that to the world around us. We have the teachings of the Buddha freely available to us, and we have teachers. We don't have to make it up. The path is right before us already. We only have to put one foot in front of the other and try. Take a risk. Maybe mess up and try again. I was thinking about Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, his 14 guidelines for engaged Buddhism. What would he have to say in these cases? What would he have to say to us today? He also has some things to say about nonviolence. How can we help other people? Freedom is one of the most basic rights of human beings, of all humans, and not just some. To be able to respect others' freedom from attachment and fanaticism, and to help others is to do the same. How can we help other people? Through compassionate dialogue. Compassionate dialogue is the essence of nonviolent action. Nonviolent action begins with the energy of tolerance and loving kindness, which will be expressed in gentle, compassionate, intelligent speech that can open people's hearts. It then moves into the field of action to create moral and social pressure for people to change. Understanding and compassion must be the basis for all nonviolent actions. Understanding and compassion must be the basis for all nonviolent actions. Actions motivated by anger or hatred cannot be described as nonviolent. Doesn't mince words, huh? Actions motivated by anger or hatred cannot be described as nonviolent. On these we agree. We get into this polarity of who's right and who's wrong. I invite us all to start by really looking at ourselves and asking ourselves, in my heart, is there anger? In my heart, is there violence? Our actions motivated by anger or hatred are not truly nonviolence. Then how do we get there? We start by cultivating not just the ability to be present to our own things, but the ability to be present to others' suffering. Once we start to get in touch with our own suffering, we see that suffering is universal, that all humans suffer, and that we all want to be happy and we don't want to suffer. And as we start to realize this, our hearts naturally start to open. Being present to our thoughts, being present to our feelings as they arise. The Buddha taught that feelings are of three types: pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. The thing is, they're always changing. Today is such a beautiful day. It's really sunny, and I'm really looking forward to going outside. When I think of the sunshine on my face and being outside, I feel so happy. But as soon as we get outside, such a great day. Maybe I get in the car and drive, and without even thinking, shift into kind of a neutral. Not happy, but not unhappy. And then as I'm driving my car, maybe somebody cuts me off. And then what happens? Unpleasant. So mad. Or maybe I'm scared. Oh my God, you almost hit me. And then depending on how I react, eventually we'll let it go. It's okay, sweetie, just get in. Go where you're gonna go. Please, go ahead. Yeah, fine. And then it starts to ease. And then before I know it, the sun's on my face and I've seen a beautiful tree full of fall, leaves and glory, and I feel happy again. Always changing, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. The Buddha taught us to contemplate our feelings as feelings. Just like that. In order to know feelings as they really are. Constantly shifting. Our feelings at their essence don't need words for us to understand. We don't have to add words to them. And even if we try to do that, each person's experience is unique to them. So our words that we add kind of describe our own experience more than someone else's. We don't need words. And yet to be in relationship with others, we need words. This is our way of connecting. Of course, we connect through our hearts. We also connect through our speech, through our hearing. So I said this week we've been talking about nonviolent communication. It starts by identifying, without our opinions, without our thoughts, objectively, describe what happened. Can you do that? It's pretty hard. Pretty hard. I think this is what they were trying to do in this trial. which you and I were not in. I didn't get to see what happened in there. I didn't get to see what those jurors saw. In trying to describe objectively what happened, inevitably our own opinions can creep in. We can pull back. Okay, what happened? What happened? Today, I opened the door and heard the sound of a leaf blower. That's objectively what happened. Then I closed the door and heard the sound of a leaf blower. I sat zazen and I heard the sound of a leaf blower. And it kind of hurt my ears. This is what happened. You know, my story, my neighbor is such a jerk. He's out there blowing the leaf blower on a Saturday morning, messing up my day. Do you think that's his intention? I don't even know who's doing it. I just made that up. Do you think that's really his intention? Probably he woke up, she woke up, they woke up, whoever it is. And they said, wow, it's a beautiful sunny day. It's a great day to get out and do some yard work. I'm going to work hard and my yard is going to be so pretty. And maybe they even thought, and my neighbors will be so happy when they see my beautiful yard. I'm going to create my beautiful yard as an offering to my neighbors. How do I know? How do I know? So we start with naming what happened. And then we have to name how we feel. So in order to connect with others, we need words. And in order to find those words, we have to find ourselves. We have to know ourselves really well. And if we don't know ourselves, if we don't know what's going on for us, then how the heck do we know what's going on for others? How can we hear other stories when the me and me and me is getting in the way so constantly? I wanted to share with you some words by Samdhong Rinpoche on anger and nonviolence. I have to change my glasses. So he was talking about (2003) and the Gulf War. Public opinion is strongly expressed through demonstrations, writing, speeches, and community actions on the war in Iraq. And this public opinion was simply ignored. None of the leaders was prepared to listen to the public voice. And the public voice was deemed so weak and ineffectual that no leader had to pay attention to it. I pondered the reasons for this very deeply, and I found out that the public voice itself was not very transparent and not very honest. It had other limitations too, and therefore was not able to prevail over the few pro-war leaders. And I asked one of my American friends about these things, and he told me there had been huge demonstrations in California, hundreds and thousands of people on the streets against the invasion of Iraq. And he was happy at this unprecedented turnout of people. So I asked him why such strength of public opinion could not prevail over the leadership. And my friend thought for a while, and then he answered, they were too weak. I left the demonstration myself after the mass of anti-war protesters physically mishandled a small group of pro-war lobbyists standing on the corner. So then Samdhong Rinpoche says, so it's evident that an element of anger and hatred was present among the anti-war demonstrators. They did not have a compassionate mind toward the leaders of the country. So the level of their compassion was high in the street, but not deep in the heart. The level of their compassion was high in the street, but not deep in the heart. It was a violent voice as well, and therefore it was ineffective. Only transparent, honest, and compassionate politics are good and effective. It is achievable if we work hard and prepare and educate people in the principles of nonviolence and honesty. And if this were achieved, the world would be a much better place in which to live. Nonviolence starts here with ourselves. And as long as we have anger in our hearts, our nonviolent actions are not truly nonviolent. Well, I invite us all to examine our own emotions, to name them, to feel them, to be honest and transparent about them. Don't pretend you're something that you're not. Let's start by just showing up honestly. And perhaps through that window of honesty with ourselves, we can find our way into connection with the entire universe, and perhaps to connection with those of whom we are most